Welcome back. We are doing a solo analysis of a Joe Pass solo from his album For Django. And the tune is Nuages. Often. So it is probably one of the best ballad solos on guitar ever, in my opinion. So I'm just going to go through it measure by measure. The first measure, we have an E flat dominant chord, and he does a whole note. So he starts his solo with just a single whole note on a D flat. And then when it goes to the D7 flat 9, of course, he does a descending diminished scale, landing on the third of our G chord on a B, right? So he has a target note that he's landing on. So it starts here, and then it goes switches to D7, and then I'll have the tabs available on my Patreon page. $3 a month. $3 a month. So that is, if you want to subscribe to my Patreon, 12 equals $36 a year. $36 a year, you can support this channel. That's less than a coffee a month. I'd greatly appreciate it. If I had a lot of people doing it, it would mean a lot to me, and hopefully I can provide some value. So, anyways, let's go into it. So D7, he does a descending. He does skip some notes there. Why is my amp buzzing? That's okay. And then landing, like I said, on the third of the chord on the B. And then going into the G chord now, we have G chord for one bar. And over the G chord, he goes, which is a great line because he's kind of outlining, almost a D major arpeggio. So, and I will have, like I said, I'll have the tabs and sheet music available of my transcription of this available on my Patreon page. Again, the next chord we have is a D7, followed by, E flat 7, followed by D7. So over the next E flat 7, he plays this. And then over the D7, he does another descending, kind of similar to the first line he did. A little variance on it. He leads into it. So again, so over the E flat, he's doing this. Oh my gosh, kind of like a sharp 11 type thing. What's interesting about that line is he's hitting. Oh, Swanson. he's hitting a major 7 over a dominant chord, but it works because it's Joe Pass. I'm doing an analysis of Joe Pass's solo from Nuages. I've been learning it. I've been playing it off and on for a while, so I've been kind of obsessed with it for the last, 6 months. I learned it a long time ago, and then I relearned it. It's just too perfect of a solo not to talk about. And again, this time he lands, the target note is the 5th of the 1 chord. He lands on the D. So that line again. And then from there, we're on a G chord. We have going back to that 3rd. So basically from that D over the 1 chord, he outlines, he encloses the root of the chord. So it's an enclosure right there. And then he does basically a G major 7 arpeggio and lands on the 6th. Very gypsy jazz. Right, I love that line. It's one of my favorite lines in the piece. In the solo, my favorite line comes towards the end, but we'll get there. So again, so he's coming at it. Why am I screwing that? Oops. I don't know why I'm going back, but. Yeah. And then the next 2 chords we have. Hi, Cindy. Greetings from Germany. Hello there from Germany. Thanks for dropping in, Anders. Talking about Joe Pass solo here. Figured I'd do an analysis of it. I've done it a couple times on this channel, but I don't know. It's evergreen. People might like it. It doesn't matter. And then the next 2 chords we have is a 2-5-1 to E minor. So F sharp minor 7 flat 5 to B7, and over the F sharp minor flat 5, he does he leads into it with this. All right, and then over the B7. So, and then landing on the 3rd of the chord. So he's tending to land on the 3rds of the chords or the 5th. What I find interesting about what he plays over the B7 is he doesn't play he basically does like a sharp 9. So the chord's this, but he's playing a D natural. He kind of skips over, but then he plays the D sharp over the E minor chord, which is a cool effect. So over this, right there, over a B7, he's playing a C major 7 arpeggio. And then what's really interesting here is an E minor arpeggio over a B7. And in context, it's beautiful. And I think he plays it just like that, too. Because Joe Pass, his stuff's very idiomatic, for lack of a better word. And he does that. So over the E minor chord. So over the E minor chord, it's another enclosure to the 3rd. So far we've had a lot of enclosures. So that's this right here. And enclosures, when you take a note of the chord and you encircle it. So say with E minor chord, you would. So going back to the solo. And then he does something interesting over here. He plays a B major arpeggio. And then over the A7 now, we're to the A7 chord. A7 chord, and then, so over the A7 chord, he just kind of plays, basically what would it be? It would be A7, 13, an A7, 13. So he's playing the 5th, the 9, and the 7, and the 13. Doesn't play the root yet. And then he finally plays the root with the leading tone to the 5th. And then passing tone. And then now over the D7. It's still D7. And then we kind of get a little quote of the melody. So now we're back to basically the A section. It's A kind of B, A B. It's more like an A B form. So E flat 7. We have this melody quote, and I don't know where he plays that. It'd be interesting to see. I don't know. There's no footage of it. Probably plays it there. But he doesn't play. What's interesting about that over the E7, he doesn't play the. He plays the 3rd, but he's mostly focusing on the color tones. He's focusing on there, the 9, the 6. He has the 3rd, and then now D7. Now we get a line very similar to the beginning, but it lands on the 3rd, but it resolves on the 3rd a little early. Very similar to the opening line. And again, landing on the 3rd of our G chord. So our next chord is G for 2 bars. And then he does something interesting here. He does a B flat augmented arpeggio. So over a G, what's interesting, so he has a G chord here, and he's going. I mean, it's got this crunch in there. Can you play Chili Peppers? Kill switch engage. I'm doing an analysis of Joe Pass solo. And then now our lead into the melody again. So that's again kind of the way he plays that. So again, now that's over an A7. So, and the stuff he plays, it lays just right on the fingers. And then my favorite line is this whole sequence. And then now going to a G7. So that's a G7, sharp 9 to a C major 7. And he does something really cool. So he leads, over the G7, he leads it in with, so over G. Kind of ends there. So it ends up on this like major 7-9 type thing, but which is so cool. I just love that line. Kind of landing on the 5th of the chord. He seems to land on the 5ths and 3rds of the chord. So that's still a C. And now my true favorite line is coming. I have about 3 favorite lines in this tune. I keep saying that, but so now he's on a C chord, and then he does this really cool arpeggio line. So he does a lead in with a G arpeggio, C, D minor, E minor, and then now landing on a C minor chord. Right before the C minor chord, he goes, and then on a G7, a G major chord, well, it's still C minor, but he leads to the G7 right away. That is my favorite line. Just that is so cool. So this whole sequence. Doesn't get any more tasty than that. One more time. Well, I'm screwing it up. And then now we get this kind of a crazy beast of a line. And that is, so he's leading into the melody. Right? But then is Joe Pass, so he has to. So he has to do that thing, of course. Again, stuff that lays right on the fingers. I mean, it doesn't get any more idiomatic than that. I mean, it sounds crazy when you hear it on the recording, but when you actually put it under your fingers, it's like not that complicated. I mean, it's all just that. And that's over an E flat dominant chord, which is crunchy. So he's got. So it's this. I already played it, but. And then rounds it off. And then you hear the rhythm guitar go. So there's two guitars happening. There's another guitar doing accompaniment. But I'll play that last little bit till the very end. There it is. Screwed that part out though. And then. And then. Yeah, so. That's so cool. And I feel like it's a throwaway line for him. And that's the rhythm guitar. So hopefully this was helpful. Like I said, I'm going to post this PDF on my Patreon. It's $3 a month. What was that? $36 a year if you want to support what I do here. I also offer private lessons. I'm a composer. Check out my music. I'm streaming music everywhere. It's all instrumental music, so it's kind of avant-garde, kind of weird, but that's about it. So my analysis of Joe Pass's solo over Nuages. I think, like I said, one of probably the best ballad solos on guitar that exists. So that's it. Peace out. Until next time. Tell your friends and family that you love them. Play guitar. That's all. Bye.